Surprise! Made Possible by Pop Culture is back. I know I told you on last week's podcast episode that it was the season 2 finale, and that was technically true, but I couldn't let this year end without one more special holiday roundtable episode. It's the last week of December. We have Christmas, we have Hanukkah, we have Kwanzaa, we have New Year's. We're celebrating them all. Here on the podcast, though, I do want to say up front, we're going to be really talking mostly about Christmas today. If you're offended by that, I'm sorry. I did want to warn you that if you are, it might not be for you. Made Possible by Pop Culture is a weekly podcast where I, host and producer Danielle Terciano, invite guests to share stories from past and present pop culture that have greatly influenced their lives. That's no different from what we're doing here today. We're just looking at past and present pop culture Christmas traditions. Welcoming back some returning guests, and we have a new guest. Let's start with our new guest, Mike Schneider from Variety. Welcome.
Finally guilted you into letting me on this podcast.
It wasn't a guilt so much as like, oh, I don't have time to give you your own episode yet. So maybe you'll come and join us together and then you can come back and do your own episode.
Bonus. Sounds good.
Awesome.
So I am happy to be here, and especially happy 'tis the season to talk all things holidays. It's feeling festive. It's, it's as we like venture towards the series finale of the United States. I'm excited to talk about, I'm sorry, I already went there.
No, I didn't know where you were going. And I was like, season finales have already aired. What's happening? Oh,
I went dark. It's a dark, no, I'm very excited to talk about Christmas.
Yes, some of the things we will talk about, just as a warning for everybody at home up front, they are dark Christmas stories. It is not just all fun and games and light. But let's talk about our returning guests as well. Chris Hayner, welcome back.
Hello. I am immediately jealous of Mike's whole setup. He's already promoting himself. Like, he's got big Variety magazines just floating in the background behind him.
Please come everywhere with me. Everywhere I go, I carry a big blow up of Variety just to remind people.
I like the idea that everywhere you go is like a pop-up Mike Schneider like junket.
You never know when you suddenly have to podcast or moderate a panel, so you do have to kind of just carry these everywhere. So I'm prepared.
100%.
I do. I mean, I will say it's the one that we can see, because I know you're sitting in front of another one. The Norman Lear one is a great choice.
I feel like if anyone like Papa Christmas, Papa Celebration, Norman Lear is someone we should always celebrate. So
agree.
And what I want to say to all of you who merely listen to this on some sort of podcast application,
this is all stuff
that only makes sense if you're looking at the video version over at youtube.com.
Right. I was going to say the YouTube version is going to be a little unhinged today because, some of us are festively dressed. Chris always has some really cool stuff in the background that you'll get distracted by. Liz Miller also, let's welcome back Liz Shannon Miller.
Liz.
And Liz, special guest for Cat, is also with us. This is why you should be watching on YouTube. You get bonus animal content.
Yes. It's true.
Well, also you should be watching to see the wordplay on Liz's sweater. So Liz, stand up, show us the sweater.
Yeah. So it says, "Welcome to the jingle." Thank you to the fine folks at Fender for sending me a sweater. It's fun today.
Do you think the next line is "We've got fun and reindeer games"?
Oh, totally.
Okay.
I don't know if this. I asked for a large, and it is in fact quite large.
But that's,
so maybe later you'll find out that that's actually written on there somewhere.
I'll keep getting to the bottom of the sweater. Oh, there it is.
This is the kind of good swag that you want at the end of the year, though. Something cozy, something comfortable, something seasonally on brand.
I hope someone got a raise for doing that.
Yeah,
right. Smart.
I swear I had like at least 2, and maybe I gave one away, but I used to have at least 3 like Christmas sweater, a Christmas Story ugly Christmas sweaters.
Oh yeah, I feel like we got one the year that the Fox team.
Yeah. And I think TBS sent one once too. So
I feel like at one point we were getting an annual like Tipsy Elves ugly sweater.
Yeah, this was
from someone. I was for like 4 straight years. Never wore any of them because they never asked for sizing before they sent them. So I just got them.
Yeah, they're always like a vaguely whatever size it is, it doesn't quite fit. But yes,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
um yeah, so Tank Girl's being cool right now. She was maybe gonna get a little she was getting a little feisty on me, but now she seems happy
I
to
mean,
be
listen, she might have opinions. I would love to hear her
Yeah.
interject if she does, because
I'm
what we
curious.
really are here today to talk about are like pop culture traditions around the holidays. And I did, say up front in my intro, and I'll say it again, like we all celebrate Christmas. So we're really going to focus on Christmas traditions right now. But I mean, if you want to throw in mentions of other holidays, more than welcome. I normally like to start truly chronologically, and we will start with our past influences, but I don't want to start chronologically, meaning like the very first thing influence wise in time, because I don't necessarily want to date all of us. So, what I would like to
I
do
will
Why is
I
that?
will
Why is,
gladly date myself. I turned 43 in like 4 days. I'm fine.
well,
uh,
then let me open it up and say
I
who
feel like
would
everyone
like
was
to
looking at
go
me.
first?
I feel like everyone was looking at me when we were talking about
No, I
dating.
was just like, who would like to go first? Because what I'd like to do is have you set up what the actual piece of pop culture was that you chose, but also why it was your tradition, when it was your tradition, and what that meant to you. Because I do feel like so many of these things, like maybe it is I'm watching it, right? But maybe it is also beyond I'm watching it.
I like mine is a weirdo pick that I'm sure nobody has watched or seen, but is resonates heavily with me as a child. So
why
I
don't
so
you
I
go first?
Yeah, go for it. And yeah, I have some thoughts too because I remember watching this and I haven't seen it in probably 40 years, so I need to go back and watch it again now. So Chris, tell us about it.
all right. So the my pick is it's literally an ABC TV movie from 1984 called The Night They Saved Christmas, starring Art Carney as Santa Claus and Jacqueline Smith as mom of kids. Uh
Just mom.
so like I'm get like if you haven't read the plot description for this, and I pray to God you haven't, the movie is very simply there is this family. It is a mom and a dad and three kids living in like extreme North Alaska. They're basically up at the North Pole. They're living there because the dad is an oil man and he's there with his company dynamiting for oil at the North Pole for his rich, crazy boss. What we learn is that Santa Claus is actually real, and they're dynamiting the North Pole is gonna kill them all. Because like it's
Wait,
any
it's gonna kill all the elves and stuff.
Santa, the elves, the misses, all the reindeer, because every time they dynamite, it's a massive earthquake for them. So
Okay.
not the dad, but the family goes to the North Pole City to meet Santa and the elves and get taught a very good lesson about why we shouldn't be blowing up Mother Nature in search of oil. It's
That
it's it's bananas, and I understood it was bananas when I was a kid, but I didn't care.
Yeah, I
It's
was gonna say,
insane.
did you? I mean, that was one of my questions was like when you started watching it, and then what made it the thing that you kept watching?
Okay, so when I was a kid, we had this thing on television called UHF. Every channel that was above channel 13 was like a whole other spectrum. If you were like me, you had a TV with a VHF dial and then underneath it a secondary dial for channels like 13 through 60 or 14 through 64. And every year, I did not see it the year it came out because I was turning 3. But every year it played on UHF channel 58 and it played in the afternoon almost every day the month of December when I got home from school. And so it just became this thing I clicked into. And then once Christmas break started, I was watching it every single day.
No,
Uh
can I ask some questions really quick?
Yeah, everybody
absolutely.
can jump in
Please,
with
yes, let's
questions.
go.
You can also
So,
jump in with concerns if you're like, wait,
I
How can you
mean,
be concerned about Art Carney?
okay, so were what was this UHF channel only broadcasting the exact same schedule every day?
Nope.
Or was it just like they just had like their 3 p.m. we're showing this thing slot?
That's exactly what it was for some reason during I as an adult I look back and I'm like maybe they just couldn't get the like the viewing
Well,
airing rights to any other Christmas movie.
Or Art Carney owned the TV station. Maybe that's it.
That's
It's just the
that's
Carney
true.
family.
Art Carney and Jacqueline Smith were much bigger deals in the 80s than they are now. So like maybe it was bona fide ratings money for them.
Yeah, well, the other thing too is like, I mean, this is of course very similar to the story of how It's a Wonderful Life actually became a Christmas classic because
it just plays all the time.
Because someone let the rights lapse and it fell into the public domain. Now I'm trying to remember when that got fixed, essentially, like when that got straightened out, because I know NBC claimed it as a regular thing for a long time.
Somehow it got back in the public domain somehow, or out of the public domain,
Yeah,
and NBC got the rights. Yeah, you're right. I think in the 90s is.
Okay, it was in the 90s. So
I
okay,
do.
So during this period of time, this UHF station could have also been showing you It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah.
But instead,
yes, but instead Chris globbed onto this. And that is what I do want to say here. I just, for everybody listening at home, I did ask everybody coming on the podcast ahead of time what we were going to talk about so that I could familiarize myself with them. And I was really glad that it wasn't like the traditional It's a Wonderful Life, Home Alone, things that we've talked about to death. Like I had never heard of this movie until Chris was like, I watch it all the time. And I was like, I watched it obviously, but I was like, I need to understand. So like, do you
First of all,
watch
anybody who's listening to this, it is on YouTube right now.
Well, I mean, it's on more official platforms too. It's on Pluto. It's on Tubi.
Is it really?
Like, yeah, that I watched it on Tubi. I always tell people
I have it on
the
VHS
episodes.
tape, so.
oh, I was gonna that was another question I had for you, Chris, which is which formats have you watched this on?
So obviously I watched it on UHF channel 58 a lot, but like I have it's only ever been released on VHS. It never got a DVD release. It never got a Blu-ray release.
Justice.
Not yet. Maybe after this.
Yeah.
Possibly. I have the VHS tape. It is a delightfully mishmash. Clearly someone put together the box art super quickly. And I have a file of it saved somewhere on my Google Drive just in case. It's one of those like if the world goes up, I will have a digital copy of The Night They Saved Christmas. But I'm honestly now I primarily watch the YouTube video because I can easily pull that up in my living room.
So my favorite part of this is the name of the villain, the businessman who wants to destroy, kill Santa. His name is Murdoch. Now, having covered the media business for years, I know of another Murdoch who, yeah.
I mean, it sounds like these Murdochs were contemporaries, right? Like they'd be around the same age.
Yeah.
And look, are you telling me someone named Sumner Murdoch doesn't hang out with someone named Rupert Murdoch? Like,
I mean, it's like literally it's Redstone and Murdoch together. But this is 1984. This is like years before we knew how evil these.
Well, that's before we knew, but other people may have known.
I suppose.
So it's always that thing. We see so many things that happen where it's like, oh yeah, there were people who knew, and then we didn't catch up. We didn't catch up to Cosby for a long time, but there are people in the business that knew way before, quote unquote, we did.
Wow, we already got to Cosby.
Sorry, I know.
This is the darkest Christmas episode ever.
Real dark.
But yeah, no, I love that this random movie that Chris only watched on UHF every year, turns out it predicted the future of media. And it was a warning. Someone went back in time and made this movie warning us all about the media moguls that were going to destroy America, and we just let it happen.
But honestly, also like the oil and the climate aspect of this movie, like
ahead of its time.
Ahead of its time.
It's like, and honestly, like as a kid, I'm like, oh, the dad's an oil driller. He's looking for oil, and I'm like, that's weird. But it didn't like I was way more interested in like the design of the freaking North Pole city because like it's a really cool, especially for a TV movie. Like obviously the 80s were when the TV movies were king, but like it's just such a very, very cool looking just set as a whole. The older I got and you realize like, oh, this man and his boss are killing the environment and Santa Claus. In saving Santa, we're saving the world.
Always, first of all, always very important. But I also think that's why it is so important that is not just like, oh, this throwaway movie that aired one time as a TV movie. The fact that it was able to replay so many times so that kids maybe not understanding all those deeper messages right away, but like it kind of sticks in your subconscious. And then you watch it a little bit later when you're older and it becomes conscious. And I love that because I feel like so many of the holiday movies do a good job of instilling those important messages and values. Maybe not always about climate, but about different things, family for sure, and sometimes the importance of like adoption or whatever. Um, but I do think that we overlook them sometimes because it is such a, I'm gonna say overly sentimental genre, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm a dark and cynical person. I want to say I did also choose something that was originally a made-for-TV movie. It was 1987 Muppet Family Christmas Carol. And it was originally on
Oh.
ABC, which is
Wait.
fascinating to me.
A
Yeah.
Muppet Family Christmas or a Muppet
No.
Christmas Carol?
No.
There's two,
Oh,
there's these
did
are
I
two
just
different things.
combine them? Oh, I didn't mean to combine.
Yes.
A Muppet Family Christmas. So it is
The best one.
I think it is the best one. It is the Muppets and it is Sesame Street. So it's like
And it is the Fraggles.
the Jet. Oh yeah, and it is the Fraggles too. It is like the Jim Henson catalog, but it originally aired on ABC, which I find insane and crazy and fascinating. Also, because if you watch the like bootleg taped version of ABC, which you kind of have to do because they released it on VHS, but they didn't have the license to all the music. So if you get the VHS, which I dubbed to DVD years ago, like it's not full, it's not the original. I don't like it. But when you watch the original, the end credits roll and there's like comments about Dateline coming up, which is its own hilarious, stupid thing.
Yep.
But I picked this because it came out in 1987. And so that was like, I was 3. It was prime Sesame Street Muppets time for me. And every year from the time I was, I guess that the next year, so like 4, to the time I was 11, 12, like middle school, I would Christmas morning get up, watch the parade, and then go right into this viewing because we had taped it. So we had it on VHS, go right into Muppet Family Christmas Carol. And it is full of ridiculous gags. But what I really loved about it was that it brought together all of the different characters. Like the two worlds collided. They're all going to stay at Fozzie's mother's house, but she thought she was going to go to Florida and she tried to like rent it out to this other guy. So he's there, Doc, and his dog Sprocket. So they all come together. It's so cute. And like Miss Piggy is like stuck on the road and there's a snowstorm. They don't know if she's going to get there in time. So there's a ton of stuff going on. There's like flashbacks when they're watching whole movies to the Muppet Babies, which I loved. And they were actual Muppet Baby puppets, not the cartoon. They were like, I feel like it was made for the ADHD generation. There's just so much going on. It's music, it's original music, but also then classic Christmas carols.
And there's a whole C plot about how Swedish Chef wants to cook the turkey.
I was just gonna say, and there's a little bit of darkness for those of us who needed it because he wanted to cook. He invited a turkey to come to cook him. The turkey like is trying to convince him to cook other things, including Big Bird. It's amazing. But then, as busy as it is, it ends with like an 8-minute medley of music. Of just Christmas carols, all the puppets just sitting in front of the camera singing Christmas carols. And like Doc comes in dressed as Santa, and there's like a cameo from Jim Henson. And it's just like so nostalgic now, but I feel like even a throwback then to like sweet and simple holiday movies, which is maybe not something people think of when they think of me. But I loved it. I watched it all the time.
Well, I like that you mentioned because it is kind of like the last gasp of the HCU, that Henson Creative Universe. Before kind of
I was like, the HCU, what is this acronym?
I just coined it right now on the spot.
I like it.
Before, because they obviously splintered off, the Sesame Street Muppets are no longer affiliated with the regular Muppets. And so this was kind of the last chance for them all to congregate. I mean, when I grew up watching Sesame Street, Kermit was on Sesame Street.
Right.
Oddly,
but this is not something I was thinking about then. But it's something that makes it more special now. This was before Elmo's popularity. So like Elmo is like totally sidelined.
Big Bird was like the big one. Big Bird was it.
Right.
Yes.
Grover, the good Muppets, not Elmo when Elmo took over.
Well, Bert and Ernie had a really funny bit where when they meet Doc, they're like, you know, the first letter of everything he says, they're calling out like that starts with, and he's like, what is this? And they go, well, where we come from, this is small talk, which I didn't really get when I was 4, but then by the time I was 11,
I love it.
It's so clever. The Muppets have always been a little darker, a little more clever than most kids shows. So
yeah.
I will also say there's a moment in this special that almost makes me cry every single time it happens. And it's when the Sesame Street gang shows up. and they just hear singing outside, so they go to figure it out, and then Big Bird walks in like, "Merry Christmas from Sesame Street, everybody!"
Yeah,
and
and it's just
like I don't know why, but it's just this worlds colliding hits me like a wave of emotion every time.
I will say, the thing that gets me every time is the icy patch runner. Like there's this icy patch in front of the door and everyone's like, be careful of it, but they say it like a second too late after the Muppets already slipped. And again, as a dark child, I just cackled every time a Muppet would fake fall because it's a Muppet. Like, how do you even do that? How do you flail the puppet to make it look like it's falling? It was very fun.
Genius.
They're
I mean, there
so
have been
good at what they
so
do.
many Muppets Christmas related programs, movies, shows. It is fascinating to think about. I mean, when I was super young, we used to listen to the John Denver and the Muppets.
Oh yeah.
You know, songs were catchy. I mean, the Miss Piggy, Christmas is coming song with like the whole rotation of
Christmas is coming, the goose is getting fat.
and everyone takes their turns. And even it's the only bearable version of 12 Days of Christmas I've ever heard is that one, because it's the Muppets doing their thing.
Yeah,
Miss Piggy going ba-dum bum bum.
Yeah, ba-dum bum bum.
That is literally the song, the album we play in my family every time we decorate the tree. Like, which is why, like, I could give you my full interpretation of every song on that album. Because
that's really interesting because you chose a Muppet Christmas Carol instead of the album. So I want what then.
Well, I mean, I thought we were talking about movies and TV, but I feel like
it could be anything. But like, I'm curious what.
I cheated. I threw some music in. So get ready for me.
We're gonna get to the mics.
We needed some music.
That's okay. My modern pick is very music, but I also want to know.
To be fair, I was like, I could pick Mariah Carey, but I'm not going to because again, I was like, I want to go a little bit off the beaten path. But what I was gonna say was, I was just curious about like what tradition is attached to but Christmas Carol that felt extra special.
I mean, just watching it every year. And I think actually, okay, I will say the tradition that is most important for me when it comes to the Muppet Christmas Carol is, so my brother and I would watch it obsessively every year on VHS. That's important because I mean, I think we did go see it in the theater, but this didn't make an impact on me at the time because there is a song that was in the theatrical version that was cut for time and then added back into the VHS release.
Oh, I love it.
Called "The Love Is Gone." It is a stupid song and I hate it. And I know that is not necessarily a universally held opinion, but I think it is a stupid song and I hate it. And so for years of my life, I have been like the tradition in my family was we would watch the movie, The Love Is Gone would start, and I would get up and I would start wandering around. I get up and I start wandering around. I start complaining about how the song is dumb. I start making fun of the lyrics. Like, where did the love go? Where did it go, Belle? Gee, if only you could take 5 minutes out of this movie and explain it to us. And so there was this blessed day several years ago when Chris Hayner here had celebrated his birthday by bringing his friends together to go see the Muppet Christmas Carol at the New Beverly on film. So I went and saw it. And to celebrate Chris, and also because I love that movie so much. We'll get into, of course, like why it's an amazing movie and why I picked it. But during this theatrical screening, I was all ready for my favorite tradition, which complaining about the song, and it wasn't there.
And I was about the song in the theater.
I was going to mentally do it. I was just going to I would never say anything out loud in front of people.
Okay.
I would they're not my family.
It's like everyone talking about like, can you sing along at Wicked? I didn't pay to hear the person off key sing behind me. Like,
I probably would have said I probably would have just rolled my eyes quietly to myself. But I would have. It's still an important tradition. You celebrate it however you can. Anyway, so but that was an exciting moment in my life, was discovering that you can in fact watch the Muppet Christmas Carol without The Love Is Gone, and it's a much better experience in my opinion personally. It is.
There's a reason it was cut.
There's a reason it was cut because it destroys the film's momentum for a good solid few minutes.
Okay.
But it is a pretty song objectively. So right now for on Disney Plus, you can stream the full version. You have to go into like the extras section on this
Oh,
on the app. But the version that is currently streaming on Disney Plus, like if you just click it, is the theatrical cut with no "The Love Is Gone."
well, that's good because I was concerned that you were going to start sending like angry
No,
mail to Disney Plus.
Listen here,
Away.
Iger.
if I was going to complain to Disney Plus about something, it wouldn't be that. But
That's what's going to get him fired, by the way. That's
this
what.
is the thing.
Yeah, nothing else going on over there.
Nothing
The
else.
criminal mistreatment of the Muppets.
Yes.
Wow.
But I mean, yeah.
At least it's streaming. At least yours is streaming officially on Disney Plus. Mine is not, which
Yeah.
again goes back to like the whole who owned it at the time and whatever. But still,
Yeah. Anyways, I don't think I actually honestly like because I wanted to be just like this is the real objective truth. This is like my one of my all-time favorite Christmas movies. There's an article right now I haven't gotten a chance to read yet on Bright Wall Dark Room that is arguing it is the best adaptation of A Christmas Carol ever.
oh, I would agree with that.
Yeah, I mean,
It is.
there's some very good ones out there. I actually just rewatched the Patrick Stewart TNT one from 1999, where Richard E. Grant plays Bob Cratchit and Joel Grey is the ghost of Christmas Past. And Dominic West is cousin Fred.
Oh wow, I don't think I've ever seen that one. To be fair, I don't typically like A Christmas Carol. I don't really like Dickens, but I
Who plays
like the
Dickens?
Muppet version.
Who
What?
plays Dickens in the Patrick Stewart version?
Uh, there's oh no, sadly they went with a different cut. They went with they went with like they trimmed the Dickens out of the out of
But
the
then,
they?
but then how do you have the only important joke in the entire thing and Tiny Tim, who
Who
was
did-
not or who did not die? Yeah, like
Yeah, I mean and really the magic of the Muppet Christmas Carol really does come down to Michael Caine showing up for work saying,
Oh my
I am
God.
here to work with my fellow actors and I will treat them as my fellow actors. And I just
Yeah.
would have loved to have been on that set. Like I really hope they had a magical time. It seems like it was pretty magical.
Who's the they in that sentence? You like the puppeteers and Michael?
Anyone
Oh,
on that
okay.
set.
Yeah,
Anyone
there's
on that set.
everyone there.
Yeah.
So-
I was just curious because I was like, if you were about to say the Muppets and Michael, I'd be like, wait.
I mean,
Now,
I feel like I've seen outtakes of Michael Caine working with the Muppets, and he's very cordial and cute. Anyways, Mike, what you were saying?
No, I was going to say, in your list of adaptations, do you include Scrooged in that, or is that too much of a sort of a remix?
I would include it as I would definitely include Scrooged as a Christmas Carol adaptation. Like, 'cause
Yeah.
I think like especially because if you're going to be really narrow about it, that's kind of depressing because there have been so many wild interpretations of the basic structure of. In fact, when we talk about Chris's present thing, we'll be able to talk
Yes.
about another interpretation of the story.
Right.
But the loose framework of it has been used in so many fascinating ways that I love making it a big tent.
Yeah. So I would say Scrooge #1, Muppet Christmas Carol #2 in terms of adaptations.
I mean, I respect
Close.
it. Scrooge is not mine. Like it's not of my generation. I don't know.
I mean, it's about the
Oh,
TV
jeez.
industry, so it's
Yeah,
it's
no,
all
I hear
about
that.
TV. So
I
Also,
will note
something
but
I find
it doesn't have Kermit the Frog in it, so like
true.
Yeah, but something I find really
But it does have Bobcat Goldthwait, so that's kind
Oh,
of
that's
like
true.
Gonzo in
so
a
it,
way.
That's
so it
the-
does
that's
have
the
Gonzo,
alternative.
yeah.
You know what's funny is, meanwhile, I have all these other like DVDs from the era when they were just putting everything on DVD and we were getting free copies of these other Muppets.
we were getting
specials.
free copies. Whatever. Go ahead. What do you have?
Here, because I don't even remember, like, vaguely remember, like this one.
I like
but
that you
it's-
just had
Yep.
it
Yeah,
handed
I remember
off
that.
to the
Do you
side.
remember this?
I have
that.
It's a very,
It's
very
not-
Muppet Christmas movie, which is sort of
It's
like,
not
you guys,
great.
you've already done a bunch of Muppet Christmas movies. Why do we need another one? So I missed
Well,
this
this
one.
one's a very
Also,
And then,
you
and
missed
then this
it.
one was a Muppet Christmas Letters to
Letters to
Santa, which was
Santa.
on
Wow.
NBC, which I do remember, but it was sort of, again, was like we're doing another Muppets Christmas thing. You've already done a bunch of great ones. Don't discount the ones you've already done.
Yeah.
And so that always kind of confused me, but I guess
and they
Muppets
heard your
Christmas-
call. So now
Yeah.
they make Muppets Haunted Mansion.
Yeah, finally moving on
and
to other
Muppets YouTube
holidays.
shorts
So,
and every
where's
other
the
Muppet
Muppets
thing.
Arbor Day
I mean,
special?
some of those are, I
That'd be
think,
great.
I don't know. Speaking of, though, like the classic, don't mess with the classic, that is a perfect setup, Mike, for what you chose.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. I sort of cheated in a way because both of mine choices were from the past, but also present.
No,
So
but that's okay because the
I
item can be from the past if it's still your present tradition.
yeah, because
I
I
think what I was thinking was that Charlie Brown Christmas was your past tradition, but if
and
it's both,
present,
that's
yeah.
okay. Okay, you just
But
set it
yeah,
up then.
well, so Charlie Brown Christmas. When I was
Oh.
a kid, especially, I lived overseas for a couple of years, and we didn't get many Christmas specials. But the one that we did get, of course, was Charlie Brown Christmas. So, and that was back in the day where you had to like you had to be in front of the TV when it was on. So you made a special date with Charlie Brown Christmas every year. It was only on once, so you better enjoy it. And I did, of course. And I mean, who doesn't love Charlie Brown Christmas? So again, it's a little bit of a cliche to go with, but this was a special that meant so much to me as a kid, and then growing up sharing it with my kids continues to mean so much to me that we still have to have our family viewing of it every year, maybe sometimes a couple times a year. Uh, you know, is there not a
Oh my
better
God.
Christmas soundtrack? There is no better Christmas soundtrack than the Vince Guaraldi trio. All these songs are bangers. This
Agreed.
I
is
would say
Christmas more than
soundtrack.
anything.
I will give you soundtrack. But if you want to spin off into a conversation about Christmas music, it's Mariah all the way.
All right, we'll
Don't
get to
think
that because
anybody wants
that's
that
my other
conversation.
choice. So we'll get
Nobody
to the
wants
music
that
in a bit.
conversation. Wait, no,
So
I don't want to go to your other
yeah,
choice just yet because
yeah. So we'll
one
save
of
that
the
for later
things.
because we're still talking about Charlie Brown Christmas. I
Yeah.
mean, I own multiple DVDs. I have it on VHS. It's this is one that still to this day, it's just as as a kid, it resonated in one way. It was just cute. It was the kids. It was the music. It was Snoopy. But then as you get older and you start to see the melancholy of it, and it starts to affect you in a whole different way, and how meaningful it is, and also how sad it kind of is. And I know that's what turns a lot of people off about Charlie Brown and Peanuts is it's actually pretty sad and the anxiety ridden. And Charlie Brown is just such a sad character, it turns out. Never really thought of that as a kid, but growing
Right.
up, now I sort of realize, oh, this is Charles Schultz. He had some issues.
But I think
Um,
it's kind of nice to have that. Like for everybody who grew up looking at pop culture and being like, where am I reflected? Like you can see yourself reflected if you have those types of anxieties
yeah, and I
and
think everyone
depression.
does, especially that time of year. And then, of course, there's that moment when Linus asks for the lights, please, and then recites the Christmas story, and everyone gets all sort of emotional, and Charlie Brown sort of just picks up his tree and leaves, and it's come on, still gets me all these years
I
later.
I had a this is a fun sad story. On my worst year, I had it literally my Christmas tree in my little one bedroom apartment in snowy Madison, Wisconsin was a Charlie Brown Christmas tree. The
Oh.
little like twig. Literally a light
Yeah,
someone gave me a licensed Charlie Brown Christmas tree. It was
Yeah.
like, "Hey, you can use this, right?" I was like, "Yeah, okay."
Oh, what's cute. I like it.
They
It wasn't
license
very big.
crap. It's like they sell crappy Christmas trees as a licensed Charlie Brown product. This is an incredible detail.
And I'm actually this is why I'm glad you brought this up. It's like I feel like Charlie Brown Christmas is like maybe the purest form of nostalgia
Yes.
for for like and for more than one generation because like it's that thing like that song has been pounded into us. That tree has been pounded into us. There's so many things about Charlie Brown Christmas that have just like infiltrated and been absorbed into like not even pop culture but just culture
Hmm.
that like everyone knows
yeah,
this thing.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's a good example too of like it plays it used to play all the time. Now because Apple has the deal, it plays all the time if you have Apple and you can keep hitting that button. But like it used
Does it
to,
only is it only available on Apple?
I believe so now because
Yeah,
there was a
They have
time where they were like, we have all of these rights, no one else can have it. And I think that is still active.
they were
Just give them a
sharing once a year. They would share it with PBS because there was that outrage that people you can't watch it if they don't have Apple TV
Mhm.
Plus. I don't know if they're still doing that, but
I
yeah,
don't think
so
so.
yeah, I don't think so either. So I think it is a little harder to find now. If you don't have Apple, then you better get this physical media, which
Yeah.
is
I guess we'll just all have to go over to Mike's house and
I
watch
was just
Charlie
gonna
Brown
say.
Christmas.
I'll have it on
Wait, I'm
four
sorry.
TVs
Is
at
that
the
a
same time.
4K? You have a 4K copy? Is it on a 4K?
It's
Yeah, I've got the
remastered.
4K. Yeah.
Okay, well I'll be
This has
picking
got
that
all
up.
the
Also, it
specials, by
doesn't
the
look
way.
opened. You're holding up
Ooh.
all of this physical media that looks
No,
like it's
it's
pristine.
no, it's
Oh, it
open.
is. Okay. The
Yeah.
other ones, the Muppet ones, I don't think were open, but that's okay. But Mike, I
Yeah.
want to go into like when you were watching it when you were younger, did you have things you were doing while you were watching it that you carried through to now that you have kids that you felt like I did this when I was a kid? Maybe you guys want to do this too.
You know what I did as a kid too is I was kind of creating my own like comic strips and sort of doing my grabbing all the Charlie Brown iconography and turning it into my own stories of Charlie Brown and Snoopy and Christmas. And so, yeah, I was just collecting all of those books too, and collecting the items, especially the Charlie Brown books. So, my kids, they probably don't collect as much of
Mm.
that kind of stuff, but my youngest son actually really got into like Snoopy sort of had a resurgence.
Yeah.
You notice that? Like suddenly, like
I mean, merchandising wise, for sure.
yeah, but I think that Generation Z, they're kind of obsessed with Snoopy and Charlie Brown, even though that comic strip's not been in production since 2000. So he actually has his own
Mm.
Snoopy dolls now. So, just like I collected Snoopy dolls back in the day. So I guess that is a long way of getting around to the answer, which is I think maybe that's it, is we kind of collected
Yeah.
the sort of the imagery and the dolls and sort of the toys that came with this.
And also now there's a TikTok filter that you can all get in on this holiday. I think they created it for pets, like Snoopify your pet, but I'm pretty sure if you just put people in front of the filter, it'll make you look like a Charlie Brown character as well.
I was
Oh,
gonna
that's
say I don't
cool.
have a pet, so this would be highly offensive to me.
I'm not entirely sure. I've only seen it with pets because that's my algorithm, but that doesn't mean that people can't do it. I mean, it's Charlie Brown. It's all it is a certain animation style. So
Oh, I want to be Snoopy. I would like to be made into
I
Snoopy.
don't think that's how it works.
My
You should
other
try it and then report back. I don't think so. I don't think you can choose. I think it just like scans you to be like, okay, Chris, like we think you're an adult male, you're gonna look like this character. Archie, Danielle's dog, you look like Snoopy, you could be Snoopy. I don't know.
The other thing I have to say about just the sort of to what you were saying, Danielle, about how the imagery and everyone knows the Charlie Brown Christmas, everyone knows the story, everyone knows the little beats too, and the fact that it's been parodied so many times by other shows. And the thing is, how much I love The Simpsons and how much that is my jam with my kids. And over the years, The Simpsons has parodied Charlie
Mhm.
Brown Christmas a couple of times, including in their brand new special that just came out last week. There's a whole scene where Bart's just not feeling the Christmas spirit, and then cut to him with the other Springfield kids. They're all doing the Charlie Brown dance. And Bart's like kind of just like looking like he's not feeling it as he's doing like the crazy head back and
Mm.
forth like what Chris is doing. And I just love those moments when we all get it. We all get that reference. And it's just fun to share that together too.
Yeah, which is fascinating to me that they hadn't done that sooner because that's a show that's been on for what, like 35 years now. If you did that reference, maybe not in season one, but if you did that at any point, we all would have gotten the reference at any point because
I
Charlie
feel
Brown
like they may have done a version of a
have,
reference of that before, but not this kind of reference.
okay.
So they're
I
doing a different
definitely have
reference.
not seen all thousands of episodes, but the reason I say that is because like Charlie Brown Christmas came out in 1965, but it's been that recognizable pretty much ever since, I think. Like I wasn't around for that year. I wasn't born yet, but from my birth to now, and I am 40 years old, I feel like every year in the last 40 years, everybody has known what it is. So I
It's
feel
a
like you
part of
could
our
have done it.
lives. Yeah.
Yeah, you could have done it. And it's fascinating that they're doing it now. And it's like so many years later, it's nice to see that it is still relevant.
Yeah, you can still parody it now and it still feels like, oh, everyone gets it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I do want to pivot to the present, but I want to ask you all, do you want to stay on this nice train or do you want to start with the darkness? Because we have a couple of things in the present that are a little darker. And if we start there now, we won't end in darkness. So I'm
Okay, let's go dark.
curious how you feel and who about that.
I'll be
Go
completely
dark.
honest with you. I forgot what people picked for their
Okay.
modern day stuff. So I'm like, what dark thing is on the holidays? Like, let's do that.
It's the Bill Cosby special that Danielle
No,
was talking about.
we're gonna get canceled right now. I didn't. First of all, I don't
Jello
know if there
pudding.
was one. I hope there wasn't one.
I mean, there is some great Christmas episodes of the Cosby Show, but we'll never see those again.
Here's the thing. Like, and I've said this a few times
Poor
before.
Malcolm Jamal Warner.
I know, like, I do feel like people should be able to still watch that show, but I think you need to watch it with context. Like, the show did so many important things for the people who worked on it, for the culture at the time. If you can't separate the man from the show, I totally understand, but I don't think you should put that show in a box and never allow anyone to see it again.
I agree with you. However, it is hilarious that if you cannot separate the man Bill Cosby from the show, the Bill Cosby Show.
I know it's the hardest one because it's like his face is there, his name is there, it's all him.
And he does this.
And we all know he was like that because of that image. It was helping him get away with other things, which is unfortunate. I would love to see his victims get the money. Like, if you're going to keep putting that on in streaming and in syndication or whatever, they should be profiting, not him. That's a whole separate conversation. But what I'm saying is, like, I don't think you should completely remove it from everything. I don't know.
Okay.
Whatever. That's a whole other.
So which episode of the Cosby Show did you pick?
No, I didn't. Actually, Liz is the one that picked.
It was actually an episode of Roseanne instead. Oh, wait.
I know. I'm like, I have different. I don't know how I feel about that show. Liz.
I like Roseanne was a true favorite growing up.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm like, I don't know how I feel because, like, it, again, did so many things. We saw like working class family in a way you never saw before. Anyway, I don't. And then like the new version. Anyway, totally different. So yes, exactly that. And sidebar.
Hey, Liz, what's up?
As well. So wait, Liz, ironically, is the one that went the darkest. Mine, I feel like, has very dark elements, but I want Liz to go first because she. Well, you'll tell them what you picked, but I love this movie. I did not see this pick coming.
Did you see this movie before this year?
Oh yeah, I saw it when it was in theaters. I covered it
great.
At Metacritic at the time. And so I saw it at like a press screening and they gave me the little hat and I was very excited about it.
I wonder which press screening did you go to?
Oh, I have no idea. I know it was at Century City, but I could not tell you what day.
It was a different one than I went to then.
Okay.
And now I'm annoyed because now I remember, like, I was trying to remember where my Santa hats were because I have multiple Santa hats in this apartment. That
would have been a good one to wear.
I think I actually just remember now where it is, but I don't want to get
But tell everybody what you've selected.
What movie?
I selected the film Violent Night, which came out, I believe, 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. It is so blatantly a movie that is meant to be a what if we mash together Die Hard and Home Alone. That they full on name check both movies in the movie. But it is a weird, it's a weird, goofy delight. I don't know.
Because also, if you haven't seen the movie, the gimmick is John McClane is Santa Claus.
Yes. Let me. I was about to launch.
Sorry.
No, it's all right.
I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine. But yeah, that's essentially it. What John McClane was Santa Claus. So it's basically a disillusioned Santa is doing the rounds on Christmas Eve when he stumbles across this mansion is somewhere like this isolated mansion somewhere in like, like I feel like Michigan, like it feels Michigan.
Oh, I could not tell you. Yeah, I was like, I don't know where they were, but I just loved that it was like this rich family and they were all pretty terrible to each other. And I was like, I know a bunch of people are going to die and I'm okay with it.
Yes, it's a very well calibrated movie in terms of like the bad stuff happens to the bad people you want it to, good stuff happens to the good people you want it to happen to. And so there's like within this terrible family, there's an adorable little like complicated family unit. The mom and dad are going through a rough patch, but they still both really love their daughter, who is of course sweet and innocent and believes in Santa, which comes in handy because when Santa, then she ends up talking to Santa through a remote control, walkie-talkie type situation, as armed robbers, armed bandits essentially invade the family compound, as led by John Leguizamo, who I believe is calling himself Mr. Scrooge.
Yeah, I was going to say all of them have the best like Christmas aliases.
Yes, they're all the bad guys are known by Christmas monikers as they go through go through the house and trap the family in the living room and begin doing hostage taking stuff. But Santa has meanwhile landed in the house and Santa, it turns out, has a bit of a past as a Viking warlord who used to wield a big ass hammer, and he starts to wield his big ass hammer to help save this little girl and her family, and somehow in doing so regain his faith in Christmas. It is extremely bloody, extremely violent, extremely silly. It's just, there's a lot of like, you know how when you watch Home Alone as an adult, you're like, those two men have undergone extreme bodily harm to the point of maybe death by
I'm also okay with that.
Yeah, but my point is like, you watch Home Alone and you're like, this does not, I'm on board with this, but it does not feel like a realistic depiction of the kinds of injuries you would sustain in this situation.
100%.
Violent Night takes it to that extreme. Like, it's like, this is actually what would happen to a person if stuff happened. So it's during the press screening I went to, which was in a smaller theater that wasn't yours, there was fully a woman losing her mind in the front of me. She's like, she just did not understand. She did not know what she had signed up for, I guess. And it was
the title didn't give it away to her.
I was just thinking that. I was like, I could understand that for certain movies, but what else could this be?
The poster is David Harbour's bloodied face.
Yeah.
And David Harbour makes actually a pretty good Santa. Like he's just like on all the spectrums you want a Santa to operate on, not necessarily just the hammer wielding one.
Sure.
But yes, sure. It's a movie to put on. We're talking to the traditional.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, like, this is why I didn't see this coming. Like, I could see why you love this movie, but I'm curious about the tradition aspect of it. Like, when do you see yourself continuing to watch it?
I feel like, honestly, this is a movie. I don't know if I'm going to make my family watch it every year. I don't think I'm going to push it this year, but I did push it last year. And like last year, because the year before, it was only in theaters, and I wasn't going to drag my family out to the movie theaters on Christmas Eve.
You could. Some people do that.
Yeah, but our family's not that. We are kind of, we cocoon during the holidays. So I wasn't, so I waited an entire year until 2023 when it was streaming on Peacock to show it to them then. And so I don't think I'll try it this year, but I feel like there's something really fun about having a movie in the rotation that is definitely Christmassy, is definitely got the spirit of the season within it, but is not, it's not the more treacly stuff. And I feel like people have been making Die Hard into a thing for a while, in part because of this, because we all do there is something really fun about something Christmassy, but also adult and, scratching all the itches that we all like to scratch sometimes. So it's nice. I really like having Violent Night as a new addition to the rotation. I honestly do think it's a movie I will rewatch for years to come as a seasonal treat.
And I will say that I do think that, like, obviously there's been a debate over Die Hard for years. Is that actually a holiday movie? And I think we're seeing that start now with Carry On, which is like the new Die Hard, but because it's set during Christmas time in an airport, but it is an action, terrorism movie. You cannot make that argument about Violent Night. It is absolutely a Christmas movie. It is just a bloody one.
For the record, apparently the film community has moved on from, we've declared that Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
Yes. But I mean, like, among families, they're still debating it. Like, as we talk about traditions, I had a friend that I was talking to the other day, and I was telling her we were doing this podcast, and I was like, so we're talking about these things that have become more important. And I said, what is something that you do with your family every year? And she literally said, well, every year we get into a fight because some of the family wants to turn on Die Hard and some of the family doesn't believe it's a Christmas movie and they don't want to watch it during Christmas. And I was like, that's interesting because of what you just said, because so many people within this industry are like, we've had that conversation, let's move on.
I mean, if you want to win the argument about whether or not Die Hard is a Christmas movie, you listen to the score for the first 5-10 minutes. It's all Christmas music.
Fair.
It's very deeply buried in the actual composition.
Well done.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point.
This is something that came up in film school of all things. I took a film
Your film school?
my it, yeah, my film school introduction to film class at USC Cinema.
I
Uh,
went.
we
That's why I was like, I went there. What class was that? I didn't take that class. Damn.
it was a cinema. It was like literally cinema 190.
Oh,
Cinema
you must have
190.
just had different teachers because like we did not.
It was a TA thing. Like it was, I think, but we did a whole thing where he was like, check out. He was like breaking down the mise en scène of Die Hard and using that to compile the argument that it's a Christmas movie.
I love it.
The other thing I was going to mention is that apparently the new thing now is the film community conversation is Eyes Wide Shut is a Christmas movie now.
Okay, but I don't want to watch that again. Like
Yeah.
Christmas aside, I don't like that movie. So
I'll throw a new one out for you because I just recently
sure.
rewatched LA Confidential, and I'd
Oh,
forgotten
yeah.
that the first
That's a
half
good one.
hour, a good chunk of LA Confidential takes place in Los Angeles during Christmas. And ironically, I was going to bring it up earlier because I recently watched that movie. I'm like, oh yeah, there's a lot of Kevin Spacey in this film,
Oh,
but that's okay. He's not the star, so it's
oh
fine.
yeah.
I
I
can
had
watch
that.
this and be okay.
It's like the Christmas Eve massacre, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. So
yeah.
that's a big part of it. And it feels very festive. You know, there's lights up and trees and music. And you're like, oh, I'm watching LA Confidential during the Christmas season. This feels festive.
Yeah,
I did.
I did just rewatch Fred Claus, which he is also in. He's the antagonist. So I'm like, you know what? Clearly, I'm still watching these things with terrible people. I know they profited off of these movies. I don't know, man. I'm one person. I
Yeah, there's
don't.
only so much. And especially if he's not starring in something like, you know, with LA Confidential, that's really Guy
Right.
Pearce and Russell Crowe. So you're like, that's fine,
Yeah.
you know.
I
And
will
he
also.
Until
does,
we can
spoiler
just
alert.
CGI
I
Christopher
was just
Plummer
gonna
in
say,
everywhere.
Yeah,
someday they're
exactly.
gonna take AI, and that is the use of AI I will be okay with to
Right.
replace people in certain movies. I'll be okay with that.
I will back you up, Danielle, on I would rather rewatch LA Confidential than Eyes Wide Shut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I respect the hell out of that movie, but also, I've seen it. I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, exactly. Well, I will take the hot seat. I will turn to my pick for I would say I'm like you, Mike. This is kind of past into present. I picked Surviving Christmas, which is a 2004 holiday movie starring Ben Affleck, James Gandolfini, Catherine O'Hara, who I say between Home Alone and this movie, she should play every Christmas movie's mother ever,
Mhm.
and Christina Applegate. And this movie came out in 2004. So I was in college. It's actually a movie I covered for my college TV station. And so I became obsessed with it kind of because of that, which admittedly is a little bit of a skewed view of just like they were nice to us and they let us come to the premiere. And so I was like, I'm going to see this movie. But I fell in love with this movie and I have literally watched it ever since, at least twice a year. I watch it when I'm putting my Christmas tree up, which used to be the day after Thanksgiving and has now become Thanksgiving. And then I watch it on Christmas Eve at night, like after dinner and stuff. The reason that I say I feel like this falls in line with the darker Christmas, not as dark as what Liz has chosen, because there's no violence to this degree, but it is very cynical. Ben Affleck's character Drew, he's this like ad executive who like doesn't have a family and is just kind of trying to use another family for at Christmas because he wants his girlfriend to feel like he's progressing in life. He goes back to his childhood home and he basically pays the family there to stay with them for the holidays. And like it's cynical in other ways. Like Gandolfini's character is it's Gandolfini. So you can kind of see what that is, like just gruff and rough. The parents are splitting up, so there's like tension in the air. But I don't know. I'm just obsessed with it. I find it hilarious. I there's a scene very quickly at the beginning of the movie that's just setting up the opening credits of people like getting ready for the holidays, wrapping presents and baking cookies, and it progressively gets more stressful and darker to the point where someone's like taping their hands together to the point where a woman like opens the oven to stick her head in. And I was like, that's the tone I'm looking for today in holiday movies. Like, yes, this ultimately has sweet sentiments at the end where the family comes together, the parents realize they want to stay together. Ben and Christina's characters fall for each other, but he's like so flawed all the way through it. He makes so many mistakes. There's so much ridiculousness. Um, that it's like screwball instead of Hallmark rom-com, if that makes sense. I don't know. I don't feel like I did a good job of selling this movie right now. I just love it so much.
No, I think you're 100% right. It's wild that there is a theatrical Christmas movie in the last however many years that is starring Ben Affleck, James Gandolfini, Catherine O'Hara, and Christina Applegate. That's bonkers in and of itself. But you're very right. Like, Hallmark movies are fun for a hot second, but like it's all just kind of samey people doing Christmas nonsense together. I love that. First of all, hands up if you're an unabashed Ben Affleck stan. What up? I
That's the
love
thing,
Ben
I'm
Affleck.
not, but his
Oh, I
character
love him.
is so unhinged in this movie that I became more of a fan because he's playing it in such like an overgrown kid kind of way. And that is part of it. Like he's cynical, but part of it is like the reason he doesn't have a family is because he never really knew his dad and his mom died when he was in college. So like he's been alone and like he's become cynical, but he also like genuinely does miss having the
Mhm.
tradition he had with his mom, even if it was kind of like simple and sad. But I don't know, he's just on another level of like cartoon in this movie that I find delightful.
It's a really fun movie. And also, thank you for bringing it up because that reminds me, I haven't watched it in a few years, and I think
Oh,
it's time to revisit.
I mean, I'm not kidding. I literally watch it at least twice a year. This year, I feel like I'll watch it 3 times. That's the hat I was trying to find because when we went to the premiere, they gave us hats that said Surviving Christmas on them. And I was like, there's no way I still have this. That was 20 years ago. Like, I don't keep anything, but if I kept anything, that would have been something I kept. So I thought maybe I did. I couldn't find it. I like literally texted my friend who lives in New Zealand now because she came with me. She worked with me at that premiere. I was like, "Do you still have yours?" Like I was gonna ask her to let me borrow it. But I think part of what you said, just looking at well, you can't believe that all these people were in the movie. That's also partially why I love the movie. Just like even the supporting cast. Phil Lewis has a very tiny part. Stephen Root is in it. Josh Zuckerman. Like it's Jennifer Morrison, like it's a crazy good cast and it was a theatrical film. So I'm like, yeah, they had high expectations. I don't think it was the movie they set out to make. I've heard some weird rumblings that people weren't necessarily happy on set because of
Really?
like the script and stuff, but I don't care. Like that's the thing is like normally I would care, but I'm like, you know what? I love it so much. I'm sorry if you had a bad experience, not like a toxic, that type of experience, just like, oh, this isn't really what we thought, but I love it so much.
Well, I'm looking at the Wikipedia page right now,
Mm.
so I see that at the Golden
Cheating,
Raspberry
guys. He's
Awards.
cheating. No,
Well, I
Oh
wanted
no,
to
I'm
see
I'm
some of the
doing the same
background.
thing.
I'm
Yeah.
kidding. Okay.
I
I'm the
saw
only
some.
one that tries to do things from memory and
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can't. And then that's why you see me sometimes be like, I can't remember that
We're
character name.
multitasking. So
Yeah.
received Razzies for Worst
Oh no,
Picture,
totally.
Worst Actor, and Worst Screenplay, but it didn't
Because
win any of
so
those. So
that's the thing. Like people really didn't like Ben's cartoonishness. I did. And the other piece of this,
Absolutely.
I will say, like, if you go on any of the Rotten Tomatoes, Metacritic, like nobody liked it. It's at like a 32 or something. I just think it's fun. And I know there was some stuff with the script. Like there's a million writers credited to it because they took a million passes. Something drastically changed from beginning to, net product. But
Oh wow, Elfant and Kaplan, the writers of the Josie and the Pussycats
Oh
movie, are among
shoot,
them.
I'm watching this.
That's
I don't
awesome.
know like what version, if
That
their
like
version is what we ended up with.
well, I feel like hearing that there were a billion writers on this doesn't shock me because I feel like what it sounds like this movie is trying to do is something really tough and complicated, which is kind of hit both the heartwarming aspects and also the more cynical things. And yeah, it's a complicated stew to get right. And so
Yeah.
I'm not shocked that this was maybe a complicated movie to get made just in terms of hitting that right tone. And it sounds like it hit maybe a tone that pleases Danielle and no one else.
I mean, that's very true. I don't know that it was always trying to be as cynical as it ended up being. I think maybe initially it was more in line with. No, you know what? I say that, but I'm like, you don't cast James Gandolfini if you think you're going to do a Hallmark version of a movie. So
No.
I'm not sure at what point anything changed. When I say we quote covered it in college, it was like we went to the premiere and we got like sound bites with people. We didn't do a deep dive. And it's been 20 years. And
Is
I will say up front, like I did want the director to come on the podcast to talk about this, but
Ooh.
he doesn't have a publicist. I couldn't
Uh,
get to him. Like I
I
tried some other channels and I just couldn't get to him. Also, I wonder if he's just like, no, thank you. I'm on to bigger and better things. I don't want people to remember I did this movie. But
Also,
I am saying this from a place of love. I'm not here to like shit on your movie, sir.
he would rather come on to talk about his previous film, Deuce Bigelow, Male
He's
Gigolo.
done he's done
God.
like a ton of great animated movies
I
since.
know.
So, Mike,
He redeemed
I
himself. He redeemed
you
himself. He did
you know
Trolls. He did Lego Movie 2 and Kung Fu Panda 4. Okay.
Gandolfini in this reminds me of De Niro in Meet the Parents. It's very
yeah,
much a very serious person dropped in sort of a wacky world. And half the fun of the movie is watching them bounce off and try to fit into this thing that we don't know them for, really.
and I think what I like about it too is that like he just keeps playing it straight. Like he just keeps playing like not Tony Soprano fully, but like a version of that in a
Yeah.
sense. Just this guy who's like, he's not into it. He's into taking Drew's money, but he's not into anything else. And just like the little things when Drew was like, wear the hat. He's like, do I have to? Well, you signed the contract. And he like huffs and like begrudgingly puts it on. I'm like, that is relatable to me. And I really am having fun. So anyway, I don't think I've convinced anybody else to see this movie, but I'm super excited to continue to watch it literally every year, at least twice a year. My poor dog has seen that movie more than any other movie, and I've only had him for 2 years. But I've watched it, he's been here he's already had 2 Christmases. Will be his third Christmas. So he's already seen it 5 times, and I've not watched any other movie 5 times in the last you get it. Anyway, I would turn to something maybe a little bit
I
more
I
normal.
just want to share
Yeah.
one observation though. It sounds like James Gandolfini was a professional actor, and he
Yeah.
said, "I'm going to show up to the set, and I'm going to work up with my fellow actors, and I'm going to treat them like professional actors." Like another great actor we've already talked about, Michael Caine in A Muppet Christmas Carol.
Oh, it's all coming together.
True.
Yes.
Wow.
True.
I
All coming together.
appreciate you trying to draw the threads. I've given up on trying to draw threads. Last episode I tried to find ones that were not there and it was very confusing in my own head. But I want to turn to Mike because I think you might have one that is equally weird as mine.
Yeah, so I wanted to do kind of an all-encompassing music one because I realized we're not talking much about music, and music is such an important pop culture part of the holidays, especially for me. From a kid, I was putting together my holiday playlists and sort of, curating the songs that I'm going to listen to throughout the season and forever like moving music around. And so music always has been a very important part of my life. And so when I was a kid, of course, MTV was a huge part of my life. And this is the
Mhm.
time of year where MTV would actually play holiday music videos, which always loved because they went weird
Yeah.
sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Because, generally they're just playing the popular hits. But during the holidays, you'd get some really weird music videos. Now, my favorite, of course, is Run DMC's Christmas in Hollis. Always love that.
Can
And
I
that's
just stop
something,
you for 1 second to
yeah.
say I was so upset in Abbott Elementary to realize that, like, yeah, the new generation, they don't know the song. And I was like, why not? Like, don't your parents play it in the house?
Well, Daniel, I'll tell you a story about that because I shared that video with my kids, and I'm like proud of myself because my kids know Christmas in Hollis. They
Mhm.
know Run DMC, and they were kind of proud of themselves too. They're like, "Dad, we know this. Like you've played it for us for years." So that kind of goes to the heart of traditions that I share
Yeah.
with my kids and we share every year is the music. Christmas in Hollis being one of them, but it's the gamut of songs now. Some of which I love and they tolerate, but some of which we now share together. And one that I think they kind of tolerate, but I've been obsessed with ever since the first time I saw it on MTV is, of course, that duet between Bing Crosby and David Bowie.
Of
Because
course.
from the time you saw, like, and I was a kid watching MTV, and you're like, what is this? Like in between all the other rock videos that MTV's playing, suddenly they're playing a clip from a TV special from 1977 on MTV, and it's this guy Bing Crosby, who at the time I'd never really heard of before. This was my introduction to Bing Crosby, was him, and even David Bowie I knew from the Let's Dance
Mm.
80s David Bowie. This is 70s Ziggy Stardust David Bowie hanging out with Bing Crosby, the weirdest combo you could ever imagine. And then they sing this beautiful song. And it really, you're like, wow, they actually sound great together. This is kind of an amazing song. I'm kind of in for this. How weird is this? What is this from? And indeed, it turns out it was from Bing Crosby's final Christmas special before he passed away. And I guess they really did live near each other. And so that whole conceit of David Bowie stopping by, thinking Bing Crosby is the help, is the butler, and sort of playing that just so ridiculous back and forth that then famously John C. Reilly and Will Ferrell imitated for a Funny or Die video a couple years ago.
I was just gonna say I saw that video and had no idea what they were imitating at the time.
They recreated that video, the original video, to the T. They did not like change anything. I mean, there's a little bit of a wink and a nod, but it's really like authentically them portraying Bing Crosby and David Bowie, and so I just love that all over again too. But it is the most surreal but yet kind of touching holiday thing, and I've loved that song too. It's always top of my playlist, along with Christmas in Hollis and Fairy Tale of New York, of course, by the Pogues, and and then of course the Charlie Brown, Vince Guaraldi soundtrack are
Do
probably some of my
you
favorites.
I mean, because you like this version so much, do you feel like you refuse to listen to other versions of this song? Because we talked about earlier, like there's so many people that will just take a classic song and do a version of it. But if this is yours,
And it's such a unique version too, because it's kind of a mashup of two songs. Because Little Drummer Boy, but then it's also this Peace on Earth song too. And because they sort of did that originally themselves, other people have done it since then, and like it became popular in more recent years. Alt rock bands will do their versions of it, or but the original's the original. The original's great, and that moment when David Bowie starts doing that peace on earth, can it be? Years from now, perhaps we'll see. I mean, come on, David
That's pretty
Bowie.
good. That's pretty good, Mike.
yeah, that is the clip to promote this episode. It's just what is happening here? It's great. I'm imagining then you force everyone in the office to listen to that song. Not just your kids, is my point. It's not just your family, it's everybody.
I mean, it's on my playlist, and I force everyone to listen to my Christmas playlist this time of year. So it's just a part of, at events, parties. If I have my playlist, I kind of force my playlist on people, and that's top of the list.
I want to. Do you share this playlist like publicly?
Yeah, can I have it?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
on. I'm on Apple Music, so I could
Okay.
send you my link.
Yeah,
Are
please
you
do.
are you all
You could just
Spotify
hire
folk?
him to DJ, like just have him DJ your family party.
Chicka chicka.
I'm not gonna make him come to Florida. Are you out
It's
of your
Christmas
mind?
time in Hollis, Queens. Mom's cooking chicken and collard greens.
I don't think that'll play super well in Florida right now, but
No.
I need to ask my dad about this Bowie Crosby clip because if I was trying if I like my dad was of course like a big 70s music fan, definitely grew up, he definitely like was really into Bowie at that time, and his father was like classic Midwestern former bank president, a big band guy. So I have to imagine there was maybe this one Christmas where my father and his father got together and really could like come together over this
Yeah.
one. They made a Christmas special with a scene in it that was just designed to make my father be able to talk to his father for at least 5 minutes.
And I
Bridging
still
generations.
I still
Yeah.
wonder like the background of Bing Crosby, who was this sort of lived through the Depression, just a very different kind of person, and probably hated the hippies, probably did not understand like David Bowie's androgynous clothing or style, and it must have been just when they suggested to the Bing, hey, the kids they love the David Bowie, why don't you have him on your special? How did he react? What did
mm,
he think? So, I'm just so fascinated by such a cultural divide between these two.
Also,
but it
I'm
does.
just learning this right now. They recorded the song like 1 month and 3 days before Bing Crosby died.
Oh
Oh,
wow.
Like they
Yeah.
recorded this. They
I mean, he
recorded this in
didn't. Was it released?
September 77, and he died in October
So
77.
maybe that's what killed him.
I was just about to say that. And
Oh,
I don't want
no.
to be that dark, but I'm glad you said it.
He was just overwhelmed by, I just don't understand this generation. David Bowie scares me.
I like to
It
think
does
this
feel
was the
like
last
that.
thing he wanted to check off on the old bucket list.
Yeah.
That
I was
is
like,
nice.
I need to make my mark for the future generation.
And it's weirdly
Yeah.
now kind of his legacy for most people, for Gen X, like myself, the last people who probably even know who Bing Crosby is. This is how we know Bing Crosby.
But it is, I mean, it does feel like Liz was saying about like the generations coming together, that the teaching the tolerance, the teaching the like we are beyond some of the things I'm sorry, I'm just gonna say like it kind of sounds to me, and I was not around in 1977 when it happened to see how it was responded to, but it reminds me a little bit of the Elton John and Eminem Stan performance of like
Oh, yeah.
you
I
think
can see
he's
that.
such a homophobe, and yet they're coming together and they're able to perform this and they're holding hands, and like it's not that
And
same.
Bing Crosby's giving the finger to the camera, just like Eminem did.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe they cut it before we could see that on TV. I don't know. Whatever.
Bing Crosby having his, how tolerant are you, Frank Sinatra? Look at me. I'm on with this guy. What do you got, Sinatra?
That is true. Because yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, not to play host or anything, but I mean, Mike has of course set us up perfectly to
Yes.
talking.
I was just gonna say, I was like, that's why I went that way, because I was like, Mike's talking about music. Chris is gonna bring us home with something that is not only music, but is also the most
current.
Yeah, the most current.
Which I will say, it was hard. It was like the past one was easy to pick. I went through a Rolodex of things. I was
Mm-hmm.
actually stuck between Anna and the Apocalypse, a fantastic zombie Christmas musical.
Mm-hmm.
Better Watch Out, a movie I think I'm the only one that saw, about what happens when two kids pretend that someone's trying to break in and kill their babysitter, but
Oh
it's
my
them.
God. I don't know that one, but I will look that up.
And so yeah, I was stuck between a bunch of like very wacky Christmas movies until I got home from my cruise, because that's how I roll, and watched A No Nonsense Christmas with Sabrina Carpenter on Netflix, aka my new holiday tradition. It's look, we don't do holiday specials a lot anymore. I feel like when we do get them, they're sort of in this vein. It's a special like pop culture name driven thing on a streaming service.
Mhm.
Which is fine. I love this. I feel like all the people who really found Sabrina Carpenter in the last year are going to hate it, because it's all of her music from before this album came out. Plus some Christmas, because she would like, before she was famous, she had a Christmas album. She released an EP. And that's what all of the original songs on this are from. So if you're sitting down and be like, oh man, I can't wait to find out about Espresso or Taste or Juno. Lord, what is she like? What is she going to do to Santa Claus in her Juno performance? None of that's in here, but that's okay, because at the end of the day, it's this weird mishmash of like sitcom setups, random music performances with like some with people I'm like, oh, and some with people I'm like, oh, okay, Shania Twain's back. Let's go. Why not?
This is what I thought it was like. You talk about bringing the generations together. Shania Twain.
Oh my God, yeah. Sabrina Carpenter and Shania Twain singing Santa Baby together is the new Bowie and Bing Crosby. Like, let's be honest here.
I don't know, Mike. I don't know. Do you agree? I'm looking at your face and I'm like, I don't know.
It's not quite as weird. I like me a good weird combo.
Yeah,
that's fair.
It is a weird special though. You have Sean Astin playing Sabrina's boyfriend Santa Claus. You have we mentioned the Christmas Carol moment earlier. There is a mini Christmas Carol sketch in the middle of this, and it's Sabrina Carpenter, Cara Delevingne, and Quinta Brunson. Like in one of the funniest things I've seen on TV in a while. There's just I love all of it. Chapel Roan is in this. I adore Chapel Roan. This was clearly filmed before she became Chapel Roan, because she's not wearing any of like the Chapel Roan character, as she calls it. In this, she's I believe she wrote online that this was from her. This is like the straightest she's ever looked.
Yeah.
But I also do wonder how much of that is, it's a Christmas special. Did they ask her to tone it down? I would suggest that no, they didn't, because they didn't
Nah.
seem to ask Sabrina to tone anything down. But I just want to throw that out there. I wonder.
I hadn't even clocked that there isn't any of her current music in it. Like,
There,
it was just all.
Santa makes he's like, I'm working late because I'm Santa, and he says that while he's like eating a donut or something backstage. It felt like it was filmed out of sequence with everything else.
No, I think it
Maybe
was.
it wasn't.
I
Maybe
think it
wasn't.
might have
I don't
been,
know.
because here's the thing. I think I originally went into this special thinking there's going to be a bunch of the new stuff, and then there's going to be the Christmas old stuff and Christmas classics, so that people who just found her this year will then go look for her old music. But then
Well, and
as
she
I
also
was
sets it
watching
up that way in the intro, which the intro also felt like the intro patter, anyways, not necessarily the performance, but the intro patter felt like it could have been something that was filmed way after the fact. She says like, she starts, I have all these songs, but like we're doing some Christmas songs, but don't worry, we'll have some of that too. And then I got to the end, but I was like,
No, you
of
didn't.
course you had a Christmas version of Nonsense, which of course you did. It's called the Christmas special is called Nonsense. You can't not do that.
Yeah.
But even with all that, like I found I had never listened to her Christmas EP. I found those songs delightful. I found the classics delightful. It felt big. Even the parts that weren't filmed in front of a studio audience were filmed in such a way to make it look like it was filmed in front of a studio audience. So it actually felt like a special sort of eventize thing,
Yeah.
as opposed to just something, that a bunch of people filmed on a closed set somewhere.
This is what I find really interesting about this, because it is brand new for this year, and because she's really having her moment now. And I do think she'll go on and be successful and popular for a long time. But I think like this is a wave that we're riding. Have you given a lot of thought to like, if this becomes a tradition, like what is the tradition? Are you watching it at a certain time? Are you watching it to get into the mood for Christmas?
So first of all, longtime Sabrina Carpenter fan. If you haven't seen Girl Meets World, she was a revelation on that show. The best thing about that show, bar none. But no, this isn't the thing that's going to get me into, regardless of her popularity, whether it goes up or down. It's not going to be the thing that gets me into the spirit. It's just going to be, this is going to be like a lot of the stuff on my Christmas watch list. It's something that I put on the weekend when we're just kind of hanging out, looking for something holiday-y to watch. And that's what we did. Like Nikki and I sat on the couch and watched it and sang along to the songs we knew and laughed at the sketches and just had a generally good time. And like that's all I want.
Do you think they completely missed out on the opportunity though to change the word espresso to hot cocoa?
100%.
That is an oversight.
I don't know why. Yeah.
Now, but
here's
my thought.
Yes.
I genuinely wonder, like, what if this, like, look, Netflix has more money than they know what to do with. What if they just throw money at her every year to put out a new special?
I mean, I think what you said earlier about like things being filmed out of order, I do wonder if this was filmed too early to know how big espresso would become, because so many holiday movies are filmed in the spring, in the summer, and like obviously espresso's been around for a while, but like who knows? I mean, people know. I don't know when they filmed this.
Like, I know she announced it with a premiere date in September, so I have to believe it was well over by then.
Exactly. And I think at a certain point, it's like it's too late to even film like a number like that, where someone says, hey, this is a huge hit, let's change the lyrics, but she's on to other projects. It's hard to turn that around, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I would never say, coming from the world of television that I've worked in for so long, I would never say you hold it till the second one, because you don't know if you're going to get a second one. But that's kind of what feels like happened.
And now for the second one, she has like 25 incredibly popular songs, and the special be 9 hours long,
and including hot cocoa, formerly known as espresso.
That's right. But yeah, ultimately, what I do is
hot cocoa. Just try it.
I'm just gonna cut together a montage of singing with no context for TikTok. Just
what something I love about this special and about her whole aesthetic is its love and appreciation of older television standards. Yeah. Like if you've seen videos of her tour, it's set up like she is the star of her own Mary Tyler Moore type show. It's to the point where there's big fake cameras on the stage filming the show. So like, and then you get to something like this, and that would be fine if that was a bit for the tour. But when you get to a special like this, and you see those older TV influences on there, I don't know if this is a her thing or if it's someone on her team who is like crafting this vision of a love of older TV. But like it, I don't understand how this child is making me feel nostalgic for my childhood. I don't get that anymore. For like, I love like I am an unashamed fan of a lot of pop music, but like none of it ever takes me back to my childhood because like these are people from a different generation who are speaking to their generation. I'm an appreciator of it. When I see stuff like what she's doing visually, it takes me back to parts of my childhood where like I love tuning into like we're live in front of a studio audience. Like I love stuff like that.
I would probably also, with that aspect of it, say I'm sure it came from her own roots. Like just having that audience when she was younger as an actor, I'm sure embedded in her in a way that not other pop stars growing up now becoming pop stars or growing up as pop stars all along would have. But I also think that, especially looking at the special, the Nonsense Christmas special by itself, like I think that's something that these Christmas specials do to different degrees of success, but just innately. Like even if the visuals are not bringing you back, like inevitably the song they're singing will, because it's a class. Most of them are classic songs.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about some of the other specials I've seen recently, new for this year or new in the last few years that I rewatch. And I'm like, some of them are actively trying to be like, we're different. We're not your mom's Christmas special. And yet I still feel that nostalgia. It's the colors, it's the lights, it's like the big band moments, it's the tree. I don't know. I think there's something about this time of year that just will always have me personally being more reflective. And maybe I should have filled this month with more episodes of this podcast for that reason, because that's the point of this podcast. But I didn't do that. So whatever. Learn from my mistakes and do it next year. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have one note about this Christmas, about a nonsense Christmas.
A note? Did you say you have a note?
A singular note. I just one thing I want to mention is that I have rarely seen a piece of entertainment as horny for Santa as this thing is. Multiple
moments.
I did wonder if that was going to come up.
Yeah, so horny.
Oddly enough, also reminds me, if you've seen Anna and the Apocalypse, one of the students has a performance at the holiday talent show at their school in that movie, and it's all about how she wants to get down and dirty with Santa Claus.
I mean, I have not seen that, but I think maybe we should watch that and then compare. Because I was like, the only thing I think of recently is like the Mean Girls moment when they're trying to do that sexy dance at their high school talent show. And it's like not really specifically for Santa, but it's not something they should be doing in a high school talent show. Anyway.
I'm gonna say every Hallmark movie is horny for Santa.
That's true.
No. Not just
and
Santa.
Lumberjacks.
And I would say Lumberjacks, small town
Christmas tree farmers.
And then if you go to like expand it beyond Hallmark and you talk about Netflix, also Frosty.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Hot Frosty.
Haven't seen Hot Frosty. Have not seen it. Fine with it. Don't want to see it. Sounds dumb.
It's exactly what you think it would be.
Is it at least fun?
I thought it was fun. I mean, it's ridiculous, but it's like, it's going to be ridiculous going in. The snowman comes to life. The one thing I don't understand, everyone is like thirsting over the snowman on like social media because it's, Ted from Schitt's Creek and he's attractive, but nobody wanted to compare him to Michael Keaton as Jack Frost in Jack Frost. Michael Keaton was a snowman once, and apparently we only care about him when he's Beetlejuice or Batman, but okay.
I care about Michael Keaton all day, every day. So
we live in a
go watch both of those movies and then report back.
We live in a hot
everybody with homework today.
Hold on, I want to hear what Liz is going to say. We live in a hot what?
Hotocracy. We celebrate the hot above all else.
Wait, I'm sorry. Are you saying Michael Keaton's not hot? I feel like he's the thinking man's Chris Hemsworth.
I'm saying I love Michael Keaton in human form. I'm saying in Snowman Man did not go for defying that.
Oh yeah.
No, that's 100% true. It was not that type of movie, and it was like a traditional, 3-ball snowman.
Maybe in Hot Frosty 2. Maybe in Hot Frosty 2 they'll reveal that Michael Keaton is Frosty's dad.
That would be amazing.
Like Jack Frost.
Very into it.
I will.
Hot Frosty 2, Jack Frosty.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on.
Yeah.
You.
Thank you very much. And now I'm going to plug something because you told me I could. I'm sure
Mhm.
you want me to talk about this part in the outro as well. For all of my writing, you can just find it over on Haynerland.com. Get ready for some hot Disney cruise content coming in the next week or two, in the next couple of weeks. I have some good stuff. Guys, I found a life hack on a cruise ship. I had my first ever massage. I had a life-changing experience in the Bahamas with Captain Minnie Mouse.
Amazing.
Isn't
It
there
sounded
usually
a little dirtier than
murder
you
on these
expected.
murders on these ships too? Was there any murder?
On the Disney cruise?
Yeah.
Of who? Well,
I don't
okay,
know.
so there
There's a
is a
lot of murders
Moana
on
show.
cruises, so I don't
There is
know.
a Moana live stage show, and they defeat the villain. So
That doesn't count.
maybe?
No, that
Oh,
doesn't
okay, then
count.
no.
No.
Well, to be fair, this was a media sailing, so it's entirely possible that once they fill the boat up with normals,
No.
the murder will be afoot.
No,
Oh.
if the murder is going to happen, it's going to be a journalist killing a journalist.
Fair.
Liz, would you like to plug anything?
Yeah, I write a newsletter every week called Stream On. I recommend movies and TV shows that are currently streaming and also things that are actually older, like archival content. And yeah, it's a really fun newsletter. I enjoy it very much. And you can find details on it if you go to consequence.net, or if you go to my Blue Sky page. I am there as lizshannonmiller.com. You can find me, and there will be a pinned post with the information on how to subscribe to Stream On. And
Excellent.
also, I was told I could do my Miss Piggy impression.
Yeah.
So let me see. 5 golden rings. Ba-dum-bum-bum.
Yeah.
That was great.
I love
That's
it.
pretty good.
That's really good.
Yeah, that is someone
I've
who's
listened
listened to
to
that
this
soundtrack.
a lot.
Yes.
Mike.
Yes, and yeah, you can find me over at Variety. Still writing for Variety.
You don't say.
Go over there.
Said that so sadly.
Variety.com.
I see an Ant-Man sized issue of Variety behind you right
Yes,
now.
yeah, so there you go.
Yeah.
And next, speaking of traditions, every Saturday before Thanksgiving is the Great Los Angeles Walk. So
I
it'll be
mean,
our
we're going to
20th
have to remind
anniversary.
people about that next year
I
because
know
it's
it's
a
a
lot
while
to
away
ask them
now.
to remember now. You'll have to come back. As Made Possible by Pop Culture wraps up 2024, once again, I have to leave you a final time with where to watch all the things that we have discussed so you can enjoy them as well. And as always, I like to say, I'm not listing a particular streaming service due to a sponsorship deal. I'm genuinely trying to find the places that it is the easiest to find them. And unfortunately, sometimes, especially with these titles today, the only place they're available. Now, it is the holiday roundtable episode, which means we have quite a few titles to get through. So settle in, maybe pray I get through them and get them all correct. All right, here we go. Starting chronologically, Mike's first pick was A Charlie Brown Christmas, which first came out in 1965, and that is available to stream today on Apple TV+. Then his second pick was Bing Crosby and David Bowie's duet of A Little Drummer Boy from 1977. So you can totally listen to that if that's what you want. But what I would actually suggest is going to YouTube, typing in their names, typing in Little Drummer Boy, and watching them perform it. Way more fun. Chris's first pick was The Night They Saved Christmas, original movie from 1984. I would recommend watching it on Tubi, but if you're willing to watch it with ads, you can also go to Pluto TV. My first pick was A Muppet Family Christmas from 1987. Here's the thing. You can find it on an old VHS or DVD if you want to buy it. I don't recommend that because it is not the full original version that actually aired. They didn't have all of the licenses for the songs when they released those. So they are cut down versions. I would actually say go to YouTube, type in the title, type in full or original with the title, and you'll find a fan upload of the full and original version that aired. Liz's first pick, The Muppet Christmas Carol. That originally came out in 1992. That is streaming on Disney Plus. Way easier, way more official. My second pick was Surviving Christmas. Original film came out in theaters in 2004, currently streaming on Paramount Plus. Then Liz's second pick was Violent Night. Original film came out in theaters just a few years ago in 2022, currently streaming on Stars. And then the final pick, I think we got through it all. Chris's pick was relevant to today, brand new for this year, A Nonsense Christmas with Sabrina Carpenter, 2024 title, available on Netflix. Ooh, that was a lot. So happy holidays, everybody. I cannot tell you how thankful I am that you stuck with us all year, 2 seasons of Made Possible by Pop Culture in one calendar year. Thank you for listening, watching, liking, commenting, subscribing, following on social media, maybe even telling your friends. I hope you have a very healthy and happy and restful last few days of the year into the new year. This has been a lot of fun for me. I hope that you'll come back and join us again in 2025 for new episodes. Mike, do you want to take it out with anything?
Peace on earth, can it be? Years from now, perhaps we'll see the days of dawning, see the days when men of goodwill live in peace again.
I don't know if I have the rights to do that much of it, Mike.
Congratulations on getting demonetized.
Merry Christmas.